Okay, so let's first of all take a look at all of the equipment that you are going to need to make your Christmas tree. So the first thing I've got here is a cut-out wooden shape of a star. So it's roughly 4 centimeters in diameter. So it's a laser cut piece of MDF basically. So usually I find that there's one side where you can see where the cut marks are, on the other side it's more plain, so obviously you can use whichever side you prefer. One thing you can do is you can obviously colour in your stars with maybe acrylic markers or some paints or something like that, just to make it look nice and extra sparkly and Christmassy. Perhaps put some glue and add some glitter on there, that would be really nice too. So you're going to need one of those. Obviously you're going to need measuring tape and some scissors. Just for ease, I've got some masking tape so I can stick my star down to my board whilst I'm working on it, so it makes life easier while I'm knotting. You then need some macrame string. So this one is the colour khaki and it is a 3mm twisted string. That means that it will come untwisted as you use it, but it means you can brush it out at the end if you want to. You could use braided string as well, so I would go for a 3mm braided string. And then for decoration, I've got lots of beads to choose from. So for the khaki, I don't know, maybe the gold might go quite nicely, but also the walnut coloured ones would look really nice too. So I will make that decision in a bit and see what I want to go for. But you're going to need 3 beads. And when you're looking for your beads, try and make sure you've got them with an extra wide hole so that there's plenty of space there for your macrame string to go through. Another item that I recommend having is a beader tool. So this is actually for hair extension, so it's a very skinny one. I'm not even really sure if you can see it, but it's basically a plastic handle with a metal loop on the end. And this is actually really fantastic for threading beads onto your string and for also tucking in your bits of string at the end of a project when you're sort of neatening it up. So I do recommend having those in your equipment list. So for the first step, we are going to cut 2 pieces of cord that are 140 centimeters long. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our first bit of the string. We're going to fold it in half so that the 2 ends meet, and then just feed it through your hand so that you get to the middle, and then you've got the nice little middle bit there which makes a little loop. Now this loop is going to go through the middle of our star. So I'm going to put it through the middle, and then I'm going to bend it down. And then through this loop here, I'm going to grab hold of my 2 ends and I'm going to pull them all the way through, and then I'm going to pull it through tight. And I'm going to just make sure that it just goes over to one side of my star. So you need to make sure when you get your star, they need to be a fairly decent thickness, because otherwise you might snap the wood as soon as you put a bit of string on. So there we go, that's the first one. And now we're just going to attach the second one. So I'm going to go through the star. Easier said than done. There we go, pop it through. Then bend the middle down, hold it open and pull your 2 ends through. And then we're going to slide that tight. So there you go, you can see there that your 2 knots look exactly the same. This is called a lark's head knot. So that's what it looks like from the front, and that's what it looks like from the back. Either side that you want to use is absolutely fine, it makes no difference, it's your preference what you like the look of. I'm going to keep mine on the front. So what I'm going to do now, I've got my strings on, I'm just going to place a bit of masking tape across the top of my star to hold it in place while I'm knotting. There we go. There we go. Okay, so I've come in a bit closer so that you can see what I'm doing for the next part, but we've got 4 strings here. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use the second string in from the left, so this one here, and what we're going to do is we're going to use this as a guide. So if you think of the top of a tree, it comes down at the sort of the branches come out at a diagonal. So we're kind of going to place it on the diagonal so that it's showing which way we want our knots to go. What you can do here at this point is you can pop a little bit of masking tape here, just so that this string doesn't move, so it doesn't get confusing for you which string you're using. But we're basically crossing that over the top of our first string, and then we're going to hold it over to the side. The bottom string is now going to come up over the top of our guide string, so it's making a little loop there. Then we're going to, Then we're just going to tuck it around the back of our string, and we're going to pull it out through this gap that we've made. So we're pulling it through, so we're wrapping it all the way around the string, and then what we're going to do is we're going to hold our guide string nice and tight, and we're going to literally slide it so that it goes all the way up to the top of our star, pull it nice and tight. Okay, so we're going to do that twice. So that's the first time. So again, with this string, we're going to go over the top of our guide string so that it makes a little loop here. Then we're going to tuck this string around the back of our string and come out through this loop. So we're pulling it all the way through, and again notice I've got hold of my guide string so it stays nice and taut, and I'm going to slide that up. So we can leave that side for the moment. We're going to go over to this side now. So again, this middle string is going to cross over the top of our outside string on a diagonal, so about there. And then we're going to knot onto the string with this one that's underneath. So again, we're going to go over the top of our guide string, and then we're going to tuck it round, and we're going to come out through this loop here. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to pull it all the way up nice and tight. And again, I would recommend either sticking this down or holding it nice and taut, because you don't want it to go loose because it will make the knot look wrong. So you want to hold it nice and taut and slide it up. You can use your nails or your fingers, massage the knots and make them look nice and neat. So we've only done that once, so we need to do that one more time. So again, we're going to go over the top of our guide string. We're going to come around the back and out through the loop that we've created. Come through there, and then we slide it up, pull it tight. So this is how our Christmas tree looks so far. So what we need to do now is we need to add 2 new bits of strings. So you need to cut another 2 bits of string now that are 140 centimetres long. So once you've got your 2 new bits of string, we're going to fold them in half again. So we're going to just marry up the 2 ends there so they're nice and equal. And we're going to find the middle of our string. So we've got the middle loop here. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to attach our strings to the 2 outside strings that were our guide strings. So I'll start with this one here. So what I'm going to do is with my new string, I'm actually going to place the middle part underneath the string, like so. And then I'm going to fold the loop over, and then I'm going to reach through and pull those 2 ends through. So I'm going to pull the 2 ends through, and then I'm going to pull it nice and tight, and then I'm going to slide it up. So again, I'm going to find the 2 ends there, and then find the middle loop, and then we're going to put it on the underneath, of the outside string here. So put it underneath, fold it over, open up your loop, and bring your 2 ends through. I sometimes find it easier to hold this string tight on both sides so that you can pull that nice and tight, and then just slide it up. And there we go. So what we're going to do is we're just going to find the 2 middle strings, which are these 2 here. If you don't have a bead at all, what you could do is just wrap the ends with a bit of masking tape, and that will allow you to just thread your string through the bead. You might even find that if you've got a really nice wide hole one like this one, that your strings will actually go through really easily just by putting them on. And then what I do is I put them in a little bit, and then I kind of spin it round so that it almost kind of winds onto the string, and then it's free. So on the next bead, I will show you how I do it with a bead tool as well. So there we go, I'm going to push the bead all the way up to the top there so it sits just underneath our first 2 lines. So now these 2 strings are now going to be our new guide strings. So if I just bring all my strings down, and make sure they're all in order so you know which string you're going to be using when. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my 2 guide strings. I'm going to pull them out to the side. So again, I want them to go in a diagonal shape. So again, as I said before, you can pop a bit of masking tape. I will do it on this one so that you can see what it's like when you do that. So I'm just going to stick a little bit of masking tape here, and then a little bit of masking tape over here. There we go. So we're going to start with our left side first. We're going to work from the inside string to the outside string. So we're going to take our first inside string first, and we're going to fold it over the top of our guide string, and then tuck it round and pull it out through the loop. And then we're going to slide that all the way up to the bottom of our bead. And don't forget, we do it twice on every string. So again, we go over again, round the back and out through the loop, and then we slide it up. There we go, so that's that one done. So now we move on to our next string, which is this one here. And again, we're going to fold it over, round the back, out and through. Now make sure when you pull it, you're not pulling it so that it goes too close to your top line. You want to have that gap because that's going to allow us to have that lovely Christmas tree shape. So don't worry if you feel like you're not pulling it tight enough. As long as it's tight on this string and it's nice and up close to these knots here, that's fine. But you want to have a nice gap between this line and this line so that we get the nice Christmas tree shape. So we need to add 2 more strings again so that we're getting the triangle shape. So we're going to cut 2 more pieces of string now, which are 120 centimetres long. So that is another layer done. So we're going to add another bead now. So I'm going to show you how I do that with my beader tool. So what we do is we add the bead onto, sorry, I don't know how easy it is to see this, but onto this silver loop here. We're going to put the bead on, like so. So the 2 ends of the string, we're going to put through the middle of this silver loop here. So I'm going to put it through, not too much, just a little bit through. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the bead up and that will pull the strings through. Really, really easy. There we go. There we go. So now the 2 middle strings are my new guide ropes. So I'm going to put them out to the side and stick those ones down. Okay. And there we go. So now again, we're going to do all of these double half hitches again. Again, starting with the nearest ones to the middle and working our way out to the sides. So we're going to add our 2 new strings now to our new lines of double half hitch knots, and they're going to be 110 centimetres each. There we go. Now we just need to add our bead, our last bead, to the 2 middle strings. Okay, so as before, our 2 middle strings here are now going to be our new guides. Okay, so we're near the bottom now. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a second line of double half hitch knots. So to do that, I'm going to find my 2 middle strings, which are just here. So I'm going to do this side first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this middle string for this side to go down this way. So I'm just going to pick that up and place that above. So this is now my new guide, and now I'm going to use, starting from the middle, working my way to the outside string. I'm going to do another row of knots going right up nice and close to the one that I've done above. So to do that, with your first string, you're going to go, as before, you're going to go over the top of your guide rope, round the back and through. And then just make sure you pull that as tight as you can, keeping your guide rope nice and taut, and that will make sure it goes nicely in underneath your last line. So let's close this knot now, go over the top, round and through, and pull it nice and tightly up to the top. So I'm going to do that with all of my strings. I'm going to include the last string and do our double half hitch knot with that one as well. There we go, so that's that side done. So now I'm just going to bring all of these strings out of the way, apart from the very first string that I used to do the knots with, which is this one here. So this one is now my new guide string for this side. So I'm now going to start from the very middle string and work all the way down to the end again. So we're now going to do a little diamond of square knots in the middle bit of our bottom bit here. So to do that, I'm just going to keep counting in until I get to my 4 middle strings. So there they are there. I'm just going to move all the others out of the way for now. So I've got 4 strings here. The 2 middle strings aren't going to move at all. So it's it's just your 2 outside strings that are actually going to do any of the work. The 2 middle ones can take a break now and they can just stay nice and still. So I'm going to start with the left hand string here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross it over the top of my 2 middle strings, and I'm going to make sure that I've left a gap here because I'm going to need that in a moment, and then I'm going to thread this underneath the right hand string as well. So it's gone over the top of the middle and underneath the right one. Now with this right hand string, I'm going to go underneath my 2 middle strings first, and then I'm going to come out through the gap that I left between this string and this string. So here, and then whilst keeping the 2 middle strings nice and taut, I'm just going to slide the 2 working strings up so they go up as high as they'll go. So they won't go all the way up to the top, they'll go about there, there'll be a little bit of a gap there, and then pull them tight. If it makes your life easier, you can pop a little bit of masking tape just there, so that it keeps these 2 strings nice and tight for you. That's absolutely fine, okay? So we've gone one way, now we need to go back the other way. So now we're going to start with the right hand string. We're going to cross it over the top of our 2 middle strings, place it underneath the left string, there we go. And now the left hand string is going to come underneath our 2 middle strings. Make sure you go above where your masking tape is though. So you're going underneath the 2 middle strings and then out through the gap left just here. There we go, and then again we're going to just gently slide that up, squeeze it nice and tight, and then that is your first square knot. So for the next part we're actually going to split our 4 strings into 2, and then what we're going to do is we're going to make 2 new sets of 4 strings. So we're going to bring 2 strings down from this side over here, so the 2 strings next to it. So we've got a new set of 4 over here, and then we're going to bring 2 strings down from this side as well. So we've got another new set of 4 over here. So what we're going to do is with these 2 sets of 4 we're going to do a square knot with this one and a square knot with this one. So this is called an alternating square knot because it goes between the last square knot, if that makes sense. So it's like a crisscross pattern almost. So I'm just going to move these 4 over here for the moment. We'll concentrate on these 4 first. So again, if you want to, you can pop a bit of masking tape here just to hold down your 2 middle strings so they're nice and straight. And we're going to start with our left string. Okay, so that one's done, so I'm just going to move those 4 strings out of the way, bring these other 4 in again. So let's do another square knot with these 4 now. And now, to complete our diamond of square knots, we're going to go back to the very centre 4 strings. So they're the ones that we use to make our very first square knot. And then we're going to do 1 more square knot so that we've got a nice diamond shape of square knots. There we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the very bottom of our Christmas tree. So to do this we're going to use again our 2 outside strings and our guides. But what we're going to do is, I'm just going to move half of my strings out of the way, the half we're not going to use just yet so that it's not confusing. There we go, put them up there. So what we're going to do is we're not going to do a diagonal line, we're actually going to start off almost straight, but then we're going to curve it so that it comes down into almost like a nice curve shape down to the middle there. Okay, so we're going to start with our first string along, and this one we're going to keep quite close to our last knot just here. So again we're going to go over the top, round and through, and pull that nice and tight. Remember to keep your guide rope nice and tight there. Go over again, round and through, and pull tight. Now, the difference we're going to do here is we're actually going to add the string we've just knotted with to our guide rope. So we're going to bring that and we're going to hold that with our guide. And this is going to mean that this is going to help all of our strings to end at the bottom, so that it almost makes like the trunk of the tree, okay? So with our next string along, we're now going to go over the 2 strings. So we're going to go over, round and through. A bit tight. So you might be able to see here that I'm slightly starting to get a gap now, where I'm sort of slowly going downwards. So I'm going to go over again, round and through. Pull it nice and tight, and again now we're going to add this string to our bundle. So we've now got 3 strings. There we go. So now our next string is going around all 3 strings. So we're going over, round and through. Now take your time with this because it does take a little while just to pull each string through, make it look all nice and neat. Okay, so I'm just slowly starting to curve that down a little bit now. So we've gone over once, we're going to go over twice now. And pull tight. There we go. So again, these knots, you can massage them just to make them look how you want them to look, make them nice and neat. So again, let's add this string to our bundle now. So you now should have 4 strings as your guide, okay? We're now on our last string. So this is now going round. Let me count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 strings now. So it's quite nice and thick. So it goes over, round and through and pull tight. And then again, over, round and through and pull tight. And there you go. That's how it should look. So we're going to repeat that now with the other side. So I'm going to move these out of my way, bring all these ones down, and let's do the same thing but with this side. There we go, so that's both sides done. So what we can do at this point is we're going to do a gathering knot that goes around the bottom just to hold our 2 ends together and make it look nice and neat at the bottom there, okay? So it's totally up to you what colour you use for this. You could use another piece of colour that's the same as the cord that you've already used, or if you've got some other colours you could use something that's a contrast colour that looks really pretty. I'm actually thinking of using this cord that I've got, which is a metallic rope cord. I think that'll look really pretty around the bottom. So I'm going to cut 80 centimetres of that. Okay, so to do a gathering knot, what you need to do is you need to have all the strings in sort of the palm of your fingers, and I'm going to grip them between my thumb and my forefinger. Then I'm going to add my bit of string that I'm going to use to do the gathering knot just to the side here. So you've got a little bit sticking up here, and then I'm pinching the sort of point where I want my knot to start just here between my finger and my thumb. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend the string up so that it makes a little loop that's about the same length as all 4 of my fingers here. And then again, I'm grabbing that bit here between my finger and my thumb. Now, with the long bit of string, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start wrapping all the way around all of the strings. And I will admit, this part is a little bit tricky to get started, but once you've got it started and you've wrapped it around a few times, you actually find you'll be able to let go a little bit and keep wrapping. So I'm actually going to wrap round, pull it nice and tight, and then I'm going to wrap round again, and I'm going to keep wrapping round and down so it goes around all of my strings, including the loop, but do make sure you keep this bit up because you're going to need that bit in a moment, okay? So if you can see here, I can now let go because I've actually wrapped around a couple of times and it's a little bit easier now. So I'm going to keep wrapping round and down. This bit can be as long as you want it to be. It's totally up to you. And also it depends on what string you use as well. If you have a thinner string that you're using for this bit, I would cut a lot longer than 80 centimetres because you actually might need a lot of string to wrap around. There we go. I actually think that's probably long enough, so I'll probably cut a bit too much string there, but that's okay. So now where my bottom loop is here, I'm actually going to put the end of my string through the loop, and then I'm just going to hold it over to the side, like so. And then I'm going to get my top bit of string here, and I'm actually going to pull that, which, by magic, should pull my loop into the knot. So I'm going to pull it so that I can feel the knot is about halfway up around my wrap here. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a tug there. There we go. So it's nice and secure in there now. So now I can just trim the top and the bottom off. And that is your gathering knot done. There we go. And don't worry if you can see, oops, don't worry if you can see any bits here, because you can just literally use the blade of your scissors just to tuck them in. There we go, so that's what it looks like there at the bottom. So now you'll probably be able to see here that you've got quite a long fringe here. It's totally up to you what you do with this part. So obviously you could leave it nice and long, that would be absolutely fine. You could add some more decorative knots there at the bottom if you like. I usually cut mine a bit shorter, just so that it's all one length and it's not too long. So I will cut it, let's see, probably about, maybe about there. So I'm just going to trim all of that off. There we go. And then of course you could brush that out if you wanted, so it's nice and fluffy. You can just leave it like that, which is probably what I'm going to do. Okay, so here you have your finished Christmas tree. I hope you really enjoyed the tutorial and you found it easy to follow along with. If you have any issues at all or any questions, then please don't hesitate to contact me and I will do my best to help you. But I really hope you enjoy it and enjoy making more macrame. Thank you for watching.